Greetings, everybody. We are on our final little section of our probability unit. Next up is the assessment. Our final topic today is dependent events. We've been talking about independent events for the last couple of lessons. Let's review these definitions right here. If the probability of A given B equals the probability of A, then A and B are independent. And as a reminder, that just means that event B doesn't affect A, meaning they're independent. And another definition we learned about is this one, that if the probability of A intersection B equals P of A times P of B, then A and B are independent. But what if the events are dependent? We get a new definition down here. If A and B are dependent events, then the probability of A intersection B equals the probability of A times the probability of B given A. And the reason we have to include the given A portion here is because A is affecting B. So the probability of B is being affected by whatever happens in event A. Let's look at an example of how this could play out. We have our geometry class here. There's an ice cream heist of sorts, and there's an interrogation that results. We want to know what the probability is that Mrs. Wolf calls down a boy from the class first, keeps him in questioning, and then calls down a girl next for interrogation. So there's a boy coming out of the class first, the boy stays, and then a girl comes out. I just looked at my first period roster, and I have 7 girls and 12 boys in that class, so let's just use those numbers. Sorry, first period, you're not more likely to participate in an ice cream heist, but I just truly randomly chose your class for this problem to calculate the boys and the girls here. So probability that a boy gets called down first would be, there's 12 of them, right? So 12 options out of a total of how many kids in the class? 19 kids in the class. All right, so that boy stays, and now there's a girl getting called down. Well, how many girls are left after that boy is pulled down? Well, still 7, right? There's still 7 girls, but here's the change. Is there 19 kids remaining? No, there's one less than that because one is in the office. So 18 people remain in the class. So that's how you would calculate the probability of a boy getting called down and then a girl. And if you calculate that probability, you get 14 over 57. Not 15, 14 over 57. And that would be your reduced probability of that event occurring. All right, example 2. Let O be the event that a person prefers walking outdoors, and M be the event that a person is male. Determine if the events are independent. So this is a little bit of a review from last lesson about how to determine if events are independent or dependent. Well, let's look at the probability a person wants to be outdoors and then see if that probability is affected by being male. So let's compare the probability of walking outdoors versus the probability of walking outdoors given that the person is male, and let's compare those probabilities. So the probability that somebody likes to walk outdoors is 60 out of 100. So 60 out of 100, which is 6/10, which is 3/5. All right, what about the probability that somebody likes to walk outdoors given they are male? So now we are looking at this row because we're given they're male. We're restricting our sample space to just the males, and given they're male, 40 out of 50 like walking outdoors, which is 4/5. So then you have to ask yourself, are these equal? No. So you conclude the events are dependent, which means the fact that a person is male affects if they like to walk outdoors or if they prefer to walk outdoors based on this study. Now, you could have also calculated the probability of male versus the probability of male given they like to walk outdoors, and you would have concluded the same answer. Let's take a look at the next example. What if you have 3 or more dependent events? Let's define that theoretically and then look at a couple of examples here. The multiplication rule for dependent events can be extended to C, D, etc. So how would I define the probability of A in intersection B, intersection C? Well, it would be the probability of A times the probability of B given A, because A is affecting B. And then for the last blank there, I'd say times the probability of C given B, because whatever happened here is affecting what's happening to C. So that's how you would fill that first blank in for that theoretical definition. So let's take a look at example 3. You have a key ring with 7 different keys, and you are attempting to unlock a door in the dark. So you try one key at a time to keep track of which ones you try. Find the probability that the third key you try is the right one. All right, so that means I want the probability of the first one being wrong, and then the second one being wrong, but then the third one being correct. All right. All right, so the probability that the first one is wrong, well, there's one correct one out of 7, which means there's 6 incorrect ones out of 7, so 6/7. All right, and now for the next draw, there's only 6 keys remaining, 5 of which are still incorrect, so times 5/6. So that would be the probability that you get 2 straight incorrect, but then the third one needs to be correct for this probability. So there's 5 remaining keys, and of those remaining keys, there's one of them that's correct. Now, if you multiply that out, you get 30 over 210, which reduces to 1/7. 1/7. So the probability that the third key you try is the right one, and the first 2 are wrong, that would be a probability of 1/7. All right, what's the probability that one of the first 3 keys you try is correct? So there's 2 ways to approach this. You could go through and look at each individual probability of, you could look at the different scenarios. So you could say, the probability of correct in the first one, and then you could look at the probability of wrong and then right, and then you could look at the probability of wrong, and right, and add those together. Add those all together. That would get you the same answer as the one I'm going to show you here, but I'm going to show you a quicker way. What is the complement of this event right here? One of the first 3 keys is right. Well, the complement of that event would be none of them are right, correct? So the complement of not a single one of these keys being correct is all 3 being wrong. So let's calculate the probability of all 3 being wrong, and then do 1 minus whatever we get for that, and that will be our answer. So let's look at the probability of wrong 1, wrong 2, wrong 3. This guy has bad luck. So it's going to start out similar to the previous question, 6/7 times 5/6. Now I want the third one to be wrong too. There's 5 left, and 4 of them are wrong. If I calculate that out, I get 4/7. Now, that's the complement. That's the probability that all 3 are wrong. So then if I want the probability of at least one of them being correct, I could do 1 minus 4/7. And that would be 3/7. So the probability that one of the first 3 keys you try is correct would be 3/7. That is it for our dependent events lesson. Consult Schoology to see what your practice options are. I posted a review for you to look at with a key to start reviewing all the probability concepts we've been talking about. And keep an eye out for an assessment coming your way. It'll be posted probably early next week, and you'll have a little bit of time to work on it. So between now and then, please schedule conferences if you need help, and continue to be well. See you soon, hopefully. Be well.